भक्तापाय भुजाङ्गकारुणमणि त्रैलोक्यरक्षामणि गोपीलोचन चातकाम्बुदमणि सौन्दर्यमुद्रामणि या कान्तामणि रुक्मणि घनकुच द्वन्द्वैकभूषामणि श्रेयद्देवशिखामणि दिशतु नः गोपालचूडामणि. Rukmini Devi is an embodiment of eternal beauty, and Kulashekara Alvar in the Mukundamala Stotra, he says, if there is one person in whose heart Krishna lives, that is Rukmini. He sings, Bhakta Paya Bhujangagarunamani Trailokya Rakshamani Gopi Lochana Chatakam Budamani Saundarya Mudramani या कांतामणि रुक्मणि घनकुच द्वन्द्वैकभूषामणि श्रेयद्देवशिखामणि दिशतु नः गोपालचूडामणि. So there's a play on the word mani. Mani means not money. Mani means a diamond or a precious stone. So Kulashekara in the Mukundamala Stotra, he says, who is Krishna? Bhakta Paya Bhujanga Garudamani. He sits on the back of Garuda like Vishnu, and with his 4 hands, he rescues the jivas in the conditioned state. He puts 2 hands in front of the wings of Garuda and 2 hands behind the wings of Garuda. And as Garuda stoops down in the ocean of suffering, Vishnu with his 4 hands, he lifts the jivas. Bhakta Paya Bhujanga Garuda Mani. So he looks like a diamond sitting on the back of Garuda. And at the same time, Saundarya Mudramani. How beautiful. So beautiful. Bhakta Paya Bhujanga Garudamani Trailokya Rakshamani. Trailokya Rakshamani. He is the protector of the 3 worlds, upper, middle and lower. And he shines like a protective diamond. Gopi Lochana Chataka Ambuda Mani. It is described that when a Chataka Pakshi is a very interesting poetic bird. When the Chataka Pakshi is thirsty in this world, it doesn't drink the water of even the Ganga. It keeps its beak open and it wants to drink straight from the rain cloud. That too during the Swati Nakshatra. So any time when desperation, sincerity and confidence has to be depicted, Chataka bird has been used as a personification. So here Kulashekara says, Gopi Lochana Chataka. The eyes of the gopis are like Chataka, Pakshi. And Krishna is the rain cloud. Ambuda. And this is a mani in itself. Krishna is a bluish mani. Indra Neela Mani. Ujjwala Neela Mani. And Saundarya Mudramani. Every aspect of Krishna's personality, his movements, his talking, his walking is so graceful. It's like the shining of a diamond. Finally, he says, Ya Kantamani. Among all the queens of Krishna, Kanta, the mani, the diamond, is Rukmani. See how he plays. Ya Kantamani Rukmani. Ghanakucha Dvandvaika Bhushamani. Krishna is like a diamond on the chest of Rukmani, on the heart of Rukmani. And this Krishna Shreya Deva Shikhamani Dishatunaha. He also gives directions to Indra, Chandra, Agni, Vayu, Varuna, Gopala Chudamani. Still he plays with butter pots and flute in Vrindavan. Gopala Chudamani. So here it's so beautifully described that Rukmani has been described as the dear devotee of the Lord. Now Rukmani teaches us by practical example that if we are separated from Krishna, and even if you don't get a chance to see him, just by hearing about him, the Supreme Lord will not just accept you. He personally will come, fight all the obstacles and accept you and make you his first priority. So we in this world are like Rukmini. We are separated from our Krishna and we are not able to see him. And we have to follow the footsteps, that of Rukmini. So in this today's session, first session, we will focus on the importance of hearing about Krishna. How important it is to hear about Krishna, especially from the Srimad Bhagavatam. Because Srimad Bhagavatam represents Krishna. And the process of hearing is hearing about him from the Bhagavatam. Practical application, the first connect that Rukmini has with Krishna is that the Brahmana who comes to Rukmini's palace repeatedly speaks about Krishna. Brahman Krishna Katha Punya Madhvi Lokamalapaha Kon Tripyeta Shrunvana Shrutajna Nityanutana. Canto 10, chapter 52, text 20, Bhagavatam describes this Krishna Katha is so power potent that Brahman Krishna Katha Punya. Krishna Katha is pure and purifying. And Madhvi, sweet. Loka Malapaha, it's the medicine to cure Bhava Roga. Now in this world, even if you have to take something for your throat, it may be bitter. So how bitter the medicine should be if it has to cure one of the disease of repeated birth and death. But this Krishna Katha is a medicine which is sweet. Madhvi, Loka Malapaha, can destroy all our shortcomings. Therefore, Kon Tripyeta Shrunvana, who is that person who after hearing this example of Rukmini will say, I don't want to hear Krishna Katha. This should be the first responsibility of the Jiva, says the Bhagavatam. You cannot go to a temple, no problem. You cannot worship the deities of Krishna, no problem. You are not even chanting the holy name to start with, no problem. Take shelter of the process that Rukmini took shelter of. Take shelter of the process that Parikshit Maharaj took shelter of. Just by hearing about Krishna, Krishna comes to us and accepts us. So therefore, this Bhagavatam is considered to be our bridge to Krishna. Bhagavatam is the Brahmana in our life. The Brahmana who comes with a letter, let's say the Brahmana is Shukdeva Goswami and the letter is Bhagavatam. So when we accept the letter and give back the letter to Krishna in the form of our realizations and service, that's when we get connected. So this Bhagavatam is described in a very wonderful way. Nigama kalpa taror galitam phalam shukhamukhad amrita drava samyutam pibata bhagavata rasamalayam muhuraho rasika bhuvi bhavukaha. The tree in our description is the Vedas. The trunk of the tree is the main Atharva Veda. However, as we know in a tree, the trunk gets divided into branches. So that trunk called Atharva Veda got divided into Yajur Veda, Sam Veda, Rig Veda and Atharva Veda. So the trunk is the Mool Veda, the original. But the branches are the 4 Vedas. Now what comes from the branches? Leaves and fruits and very good, flowers. The leaves in this case are all the itihasas. The itihasas, the samhitas, the aranyakas. There are plenty. So many leaves are there. The fruits here, unripe fruits, are the 108 Upanishads. Very difficult to understand. Unripe. You see, in Mumbai, when you have an unripe mango, they make what is called as Ampanna. You've had? They make in Mumbai. And it's a little bitter, but you can sweeten it a bit also. But that's not as popular as Amras with ripened mango. So unripe fruit of the Upanishads can give some juice, but it is not meant for everybody because it is very technical juice. It will say Athato Brahma Jitnyasa, finished. Only that much you will get in that glass. Anavritti hi Shabdat, finished. So small sutras are given. Now how you open that is tough. So unripe fruits on this tree of Vedas are the Upanishads, which are 108. However, between the unripe fruit and the fragrant flower, you pick the fragrant flower. So fragrant flowers here are the Puranas, which give us entertaining stories. Through the stories, philosophy is explained. Once upon a time, there was Ramu, and there was another boy called Shamu. Both of them had some property issue. They were fighting with each other. Ramu cut Shamu's leg, Shamu cut Ramu's hand, and then they went to court. So in this way, the principle will be something else, but the story is built in such a way that our mind is caught between Ramu and Shamu, and then those principles enter. So these are the fragrant flowers of the tree of Vedas called as the Puranas. However, the ripened fruits are those Puranas which are in the mode of goodness, like Vishnu Puran, Padma Puran, Narada Puran. These are all in the mode of goodness, talking about the fact that Vishnu is Bhagavan. So they're all ripened fruits. And anybody can take those fruits and make advancement in spiritual life. However, among all the ripened fruits, the ripened mango is the king. That is Srimad Bhagavatam. It is so beautiful. That is the essence of the tree. Now is the question. The trunk are described, the branches are described, the leaves, flowers, unripe and ripe fruits are described. And what is the root? The root is Krishna, who is underground, therefore he is not seen. But without him, the tree doesn't exist. Vedaishta sarvair ahameva vedyo vedanta krit vedamit evacha. I am the root of everything that exists, says Krishna. Aham bija pradapita. I am the seed-giving father. So this Srimad Bhagavatam is Galitam Phalam. Nigama Kalpataru Galitam Phalam. On the tree of Vedic wisdom, Srimad Bhagavatam is the ripened mango fruit. What kind of mango fruit? It has no seed inside and no cover outside. You see a mango in this world, you have to take the skin out. You may not, you can suck it even without that. But generally, to get the pulp, you have to cut through. And then you throw the seed. You don't need the skin and you don't need the seed. Everyone's interested in the pulp. But Srimad Bhagavatam doesn't have a skin and doesn't have a seed worth throwing. Because every aspect of Srimad Bhagavatam is a pulpy fruit in itself. You can suck this mango from any canto. Canto 1, Canto 7, Canto 11, Canto 2, Canto 3. Any of these cantos are like different sides of the mangoes. One time Srila Prabhupada picked up a rasgulla on his plate and said, my books are like this. You can bite from anywhere and they are sweet. So this is Srimad Bhagavatam. Galitam Phalam. However, now the authenticity of the Srimad Bhagavatam goes higher. Why? Because the compiler of Srimad Bhagavatam is Vyasadeva. Now in this world, when you're having publications one after another, your first publication as a researcher that you come across will have very less citations because you're just getting used to it. But your 700th published paper is going to be a magnum opus in itself because it will have the essence of all previous papers with so much professionalism that you have learned from your own papers. If in this world the final work is so refined, what to speak of the final work of Vyasadeva? All these fruits and roots that we described couldn't satisfy Vyasadeva. When he himself tasted the Srimad Bhagavatam, he got satisfied. So the point is, when the words of Vyasadeva didn't satisfy Vyasadeva, how will they satisfy us? Therefore, we have to take shelter of that scripture which satisfied Vyasadeva. That is Srimad Bhagavatam. Next line says, Shukha Mukhad Amrita Drava Samyutam. Shukha Mukhad. It came from the lips of Shukdev Goswami, the Srimad Bhagavatam. What is the significance now? The significance is, Shukdev Goswami appeared in this world after Vyasadeva did austerity. Very interesting point. Now, Valmiki Muni, when he compiled the Ramayana, he needed someone to propagate it. In this world, people are, especially in Kali Yuga, Prayena Alpayusha Sabhya Kalau Asmin Yuge Janaha Manda Sumanda Matayor Manda Bhagya Rupadritaha. With time, people get less intelligent. They remember all the contents in the laptop, they remember the specifications of the laptop, but they forget the password to open the laptop. This is the memory status in this world. I was in Sharjah, and one Mataji and Prabhuji, they had come home for serving lunch prasadam. So I was speaking to that Mataji. The hosts were there, and the Prabhuji dropped the Mataji and the kid, and he had to go to work. So the Mataji, the kid were there, the hosts were there, their kids were there. So I was there. So we were all having a nice time. Then I asked that Mataji, how did you become a devotee? So she said, oh, long story, it was a love marriage, and he was a devotee, and he inspired me, I became a devotee. He said, wonderful. So what did he inspire you? He said, no, he really loved me. He would always glorify me. I said, what kind of glorification? He said, no, he would say that you are fragrant like a flower, fragrant like a flower, fragrant like a flower. He would say, Gandha, Sugandha, Gandha, Sugandha, Gandha, Sugandha. I was thinking, wow, he is glorifying me. My heart softened. Then he spoke Krishna Katha. I became impressed. I became devotee. Later, after I became devotee, I got to know he was not saying Gandha Sugandha. He was saying Prayana Alpayusha Sabya Kalau Asmin Yuge Jana Manda Sumanda, Manda Sumanda, Manda Sumanda. That in Kali Yuga people are dull-headed even after telling them they don't understand. But I thought he was glorifying. The Manda Sumanda, I thought it was Gandha Sugandha. So this is the state of Kali Yuga. Vyasdev says, Manda Sumanda Matayor Manda Bhagya Rupadrita. We are all less intelligent and always restless. So Valmiki Muni in Treta Yuga, he compiles the Ramayana and he thinks, I need propagating agents. And he teaches the Ramayana to Lava and Kusha, who walk around speaking the Ramayana. So similarly now Vyasdev needs someone to propagate the Bhagavatam. He performs austerity in the middle of the forests, which have the Badara Vriksha. You know, boar. क्या कहते हैं? बेर. क्या कहते हैं इंग्लिश में? शबरी वाले बेर को क्या कहते हैं? Gooseberries. Okay. So in Sanskrit it is called as Badara Vriksha. And it's interesting that this is not found anywhere outside easily. It's found during that time, it used to be found in the middle of the forest. Nowadays you cut the forest so everything has come out. But in the olden times, it used to be in the middle of the forest. To get a badar fruit, it was very difficult. So Vyasadeva would sit under those trees and perform austerity to get a son who can propagate the Bhagavatam. Therefore, Vyasadeva got a name called Badarayana, because he would sit under a Badara Vriksha. And Shukdev Goswami was the answer to his prayer. Therefore, Shukdev Goswami is called Badarayani. The son of he who did meditation, austerity, to get help from the Supreme Lord. So it's interesting, Vyasadeva, who's Krishna himself, compiles the Bhagavatam by the guidance of Narada Muni. He gets a son after austerity who speaks the Bhagavatam. Now that's the speaker. Let's come to the listener of the Bhagavatam. Parikshit Maharaj is the first listener of the Bhagavatam. We are hearing Bhagavatam to see Krishna. Parikshit Maharaj saw Krishna in the womb and then comes out and hears Bhagavatam. Which means even if you come to a platform of seeing Krishna, study of the Bhagavatam should continue. When Parikshit Maharaj is introduced in the Bhagavatam, he is mentioned as Vishnuratena Samprishta Bhagavan Badarayani. Who's asking? Vishnurata. He who was protected by Vishnu in the womb is asking questions. And who's answering? Bhagavan Badarayani. He who's almost like the Supreme Lord. And Badarayani, he who is the son of Vyasa, who did austerity under the Badara Vriksha to get empowerment as a son. So this conversation, speaker exalted, listener also exalted. When you speak about the appearance of Parikshit, you speak less about him and more about how Ashwatthama shot the Brahmastra. In the womb of Uttara, Krishna went and protected. So you speak about the appearance of Parikshit, you speak less about him and more about Krishna. You speak about the disappearance of Parikshit, you speak less about him and more about Bhagavatam. Takshaka. So personality like Parikshit, whether you speak about their happy birthday or whether you speak about their departure, you speak less about them and more about Krishna. So that's how selfless they are, even in their personality. So the speaker is selfless, the listener is selfless. Now the audience are all self-realized souls sitting there. Parashara Muni, Vyasadev's father, is sitting. Narada Muni is sitting. Angira Muni is sitting. Bharadwaja Rishi is sitting. Gautama Rishi is sitting. Atri Muni is sitting. All of them are sitting. Self-realized souls. These are personalities who don't know what sex desire means. They absolutely don't get attracted. Even Ramba, Urvashi, Menka come, they have no clue. They think, oh, another part of Krishna has come. That's the assembly. And most importantly, it's happening on the banks of the Ganga. The question is, in such an assembly, why will Shukdev Goswami and Parikshit Maharaj discuss about the marriage of Krishna and Rukmini? How is it important for brahmacharis and sannyasis? The point is, there are grihasthas also there. So for grihasthas, it will maintain their wedding. And for brahmacharis and sannyasis, it will make sure that they don't get married. It will make sure that be like Rukmini and pray to Krishna to become the husband. So it is so exalted. It's not like a romantic love affair of this world that is being discussed. And that too, where does it find its position? It finds its position not in the first canto, but in the 10th canto of Bhagavatam. 10th canto Bhagavatam is the heart of the Bhagavatam. There are 12 cantos, 10th is the heart. Or some commentators say the 10th canto is the face of Krishna. So on the face or in the heart is a very special position. So in the 10th canto, the discussion between Krishna and Rukmini is found. The letter, the first love letter in this world has been discussed. Rukmini is writing. She is in fact even writing how to kidnap me. So the 10th, it's found in the Bhagavatam, compiled by Vyasa, spoken by Shuka, heard by Parikshit on the banks of Ganga in the assembly of self-realized souls, and that too in the 10th canto. Now it's interesting. The 10th canto has 90 chapters. So if you go directly to the center, that's like the 50th chapter, because you have 40 to go and 40 in the past. That is the discussion between Krishna and Rukmini. So in the 10th canto, in the center of the book is where this pastime is found. Whatever is kept in the center is always very precious. You see, the covering are the ribs, but the center is the heart. The covering are the skull, but the center is the brain. You keep all your valuable things in the center. What is the difference between a vegetable sandwich and a cheese sandwich? The center. The loaves of the bread are the same. But depending on what is in the center, the name of the sandwich changes. So the center is more important. So first 40 chapters and the last 40 chapters are supporting this pastime in the middle. And more importantly, this pastime takes place in Dwaraka. Now Dwaraka is the place which in some places considered to be more glorious than Vrindavan. Now this is shocking. Why? Because in Vrindavan are the gopis. Gopis of Vrindavan are the highest. However, in Vrindavan, Krishna is always with the gopis. He is always in association with his devotees. But when Krishna leaves Vrindavan and goes to Dwaraka, that's when the separation goes high. Rupa Goswami gives a very, very beautiful example. Imagine you have a bucket and you have your cloth and you are dipping the cloth to dye the cloth, let's say. So the more you dip the cloth in and you dip the cloth out, and then you dip the cloth in and you dip the cloth out, and you dip the cloth in and you dip the cloth out, whether it is in or out, the cloth is getting colored deeper. So whether it is union with Krishna or separation from Krishna, the cloth of the consciousness gets covered and colored with love. The dye here is love. Whether it is meeting Krishna or separation from Krishna, only the love goes higher. Another example Rupa Goswami gives is that of cutting wood with a saw. You cut wood with a saw, you go forward or you go backward, or you go forward or you go backward. Whether it's forward or backward, the cut gets deeper. So love for Krishna rises deeper whether it is in union or in separation. So Dwaraka is considered to be the land of separation. Therefore Krishna says among all the tithis, Ekadashi is first class. Among all the plants, Tulsi is first class. Similarly, among all the places, Dwaraka is first class. He is called Dwarkadish. This is very pleasing to the residents of Dwaraka, but it is a javelin in the heart of the Vrajvasis. Ai Deena Dayardra Nath hai, Mathura Nath Kadavalokya se, Hridayam Twadaloka Kataram, Daita Brahmyati Kim Karomyaham. Madhavendra Puri, when he left his body, he chanted this verse. Ai Deena Dayardra Nath hai, Mathura Nath Kadavalokya se. Oh Krishna, gone are those days when you are called Vrindavan Nath. Gone are those days when you are called as Vraja Chandra. Nowadays you are famous as Mathura Nath or Dwarkadish. All obeisances to you. But my heart still beats for he who plays the flute in a threefold bending form under a Kadamba tree on a full moon night of Sharad Purnima on the banks of the Yamuna. So for the residents of Vrindavan, Dwarka is a javelin. But if you see in the total picture, Dwarka increases the separation of Brajvasis, and in increase, there is more love. So therefore, this pastime of Rukmini's presence as a soul searching for Krishna in separation without seeing him and taking shelter of the hearing process is the perfect example that we can take shelter of. This Srimad Bhagavatam is glorified in such a way, this process of hearing about Krishna is glorified in such a way that the Padma Puran describes in numerous verses that anyone who hears this pastime, anyone who hears the Bhagavatam, they will attain the same destination as that of Rukmini. It is not that we have to live in Dwarka. You can live here in Oklahoma City. You can live wherever you want. All that you have to do is increase the desire to meet Krishna in the heart. When will that day come? When, like Rukmini, without seeing Krishna, I will fall in love with him just by hearing about him. Now someone will say, Prabhu, how to develop that desire? That desire will be developed by hearing this pastime. So it's so important. The process of Shravanam is so important. It ignites the fire of separation in the heart. When you take two stones and you rub them against each other, what happens? Fire comes. Now where is the fire coming from? Because it's already there. But it just gets ignited by the process. Similarly, the fire of calling out to Krishna is there in the heart. But when it gets frictioned through the process of hearing, the katha enters the ear and agitates the consciousness, the fire of love for Krishna rises. So the Bhagavatam has been glorified in such a beautiful way as Shuka Mukhad Amrita Drava Samyutam. It is coming from the lips of that Shuka, who's ready to give this opportunity that Rukmini got to everyone by speaking Bhagavatam. Also the word Shuka means a parrot. So what does this mean? It is described in this world that when a parrot puts its beak in a ripe fruit, the taste of the fruit increases by the mixing of the saliva of the parrot. So the parrot has a special quality. He can put his beak into anything, especially ripened fruits, and sweeten it further. So the Bhagavatam is already sweet, coming from Vyasadeva and Narada Muni. But when Shuka, the parrot, puts his beak or speaks, then what emanates is sweeter. It is Shuka Mukhat Amrita Drava Samyutam. It is like Amritam.